So who doesn't love a complainer, right? I mean, don't you just love it when your kids complain, or your coworkers, or your friends, or your spouse? Don't you love it when your spouse complains? And who doesn't want to be behind that person in a store who's got a complaint and wants to speak to the manager? Well, in truth, nobody loves a complainer. Nobody likes arguing or complaining or grumbling. Nobody's saying, ooh, give me more of that stuff. And yet, if you think about it, we often seem to do a lot of complaining at times. So we don't like complainers, but we kind of like to complain, don't we? I've seen people whine and complain about something they were supposed to do for a longer period of time that it would have actually taken them to just do the thing that they'd been asked to do. Well, in thinking about this, I've realized an issue where I complain a little bit. I do something that a lot of dads do. I call it dad muttering. That's where you walk around the house doing things and kind of under your breath muttering about it. You know, like, oh, this light's left on. Guess somebody did that. I guess I'll turn that off. Oh, the trash can's overflowing. Whoever put that in there ought to have taken it out, and they didn't. Oh, but I guess I'll do that. And you use a lot of cliches along the way, like money doesn't grow on trees, and good help is hard to find, and things like that. But it really kind of comes down to muttering, complaining, grumbling. Well, in Philippians 2:14, the Apostle Paul says this: do everything without grumbling or arguing. It could also be translated, do all things without grumbling or complaining. And notice that it doesn't say do some things without grumbling or complaining, or most things without grumbling or complaining. What it says is to do everything or all things without grumbling or complaining. And that, frankly, is a really tall order. Now, I think we should understand that Paul is not saying that we shouldn't seek to stand up for what is right and to put right wrongs. There certainly is a time that we need to raise concerns and to try to make sure that things are done rightly and fairly in this world. So I don't think that Paul is really talking about that kind of positive raising of concerns. I think what Paul is addressing here is really a kind of unhelpful grumbling and arguing and complaining. The kind that's not positive, the kind that's not constructive criticism or feedback. It's just negative. It's not seeking to make the best of a hard situation. It's not a can-do attitude. It's a can't-do attitude or a poor me attitude. But I think another part of why Paul calls us to do all things without grumbling or complaining is that we're called to be people who trust God in the good times, and even when things are hard, even when life is frustrating. And the truth is that so often God is actually at work in the things that are difficult, in the things that are frustrating for us, seeking to stretch and grow us, make us stronger, make us into people who take things more in stride when we encounter difficulty along the way. So I think that Paul's desire here is that we might take the energy that we would have put into arguing, grumbling, and complaining and really focus that energy on serving and on learning from God what God may be seeking to teach us in those moments where we might be tempted to argue, to complain, or to grumble. So for all of us, my prayer is that we would seek to be people who do everything without arguing, without grumbling or arguing.